What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to episode... Chris, what are we on? Episode what?
I believe this is
Yes.
number 7 after the lost one.
Yeah, so we did record last week. You will not see an episode from last week because Adam and I had to record because Chris was dying.
I
and,
had the COVID.
And Zach is still away. So we attempted to record on our laptop for video. He recorded video. I recorded audio through voice memos. And it didn't go very well. Both files are corrupted, and we now have no audio.
I'm so glad I didn't have to try and piece that together.
It's not that both files are corrupted. Mine just is very rough sounding and looking. And as soon as when we went to go do Puckdoku and I went to screen share, my recording stopped. So it missed like 20 minutes of the episode.
I have a list here of timestamps when I was going to tell Chris to edit at like solid chunks of like silence. I have 10 of those. So it didn't go well. Maybe one day we'll find a way to release the Beacon Lost episode, but for now we're back. So we're going to basically redo the show. So you've got Chris and Adam with me today. Hello, everybody.
Good morning, good morning.
Hello, hello.
And yes, it is a morning today. We're usually recording at night, but somebody here wanted to watch Sunday Night Football, so we're recording in the morning.
You know,
could it be the guy with the Steelers mug?
Gotta watch Matt Canada take another fat shit on the field.
Hey, dude, I can't wait to watch Baker Mayfield somehow save the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from going into absolute bomb zone mode.
You know what? I'm excited for that too because I hate the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, man. I'm even impressed that Baker Mayfield's playing as well as he is.
Yeah. What a good comeback story. But anyway, hockey.
And if you, just a quick note to our viewers, if you see me muting my mic or looking off camera, I am sick currently. I don't want to cough into the camera, so this is my Michael Jordan flu game. It's going to be a relatively short show because we only have a few bits of news, but we've got a new Puckdoku board to play today. We're actually going to do today's live, and it's not a very good board in my personal opinion, but we'll see. Anyways, starting with the news of the week, Mike Babcock is out as the Columbus Blue Jackets head coach after 78 days. Who could have foreseen this?
The 78 days part, no. The after season 1 or 2, yes.
Yeah, the not hanging around for more than one contract. Yeah.
It's so I'll just, before we get into it, I'll give us the factual recap of what happened here. Mike Babcock became the coach of the Blue Jackets a little bit over 3 months ago. Did I do the math right? 3 months ago? I don't know. 70-some days ago. Yeah, whatever.
2.5 months ago.
So roughly 3 months ago, he takes over as coach of the Jackets. It comes out on a podcast about a week or so ago on Spit and Chicklets. I'm sure pretty much everybody in the world knows that Spit and Chicklets is If You Like Hockey. Paul Bissonnette was getting texts on the show from players on the Jackets saying, you got to touch upon the stuff Babcock is doing in Columbus. He's going through players' phones, yada, yada, yada. So basically it comes out that Babcock was asking players for their phones. Well, flash forward a few days later, Boone Jenner, the captain, comes out, and so does Babcock and says, look, it's nothing. Johnny Gaudreau even comes to his defense and says, look, it's nothing. He brought us into his office, just wanted to see our phones, see what kind of men we are, look at our families. It's nothing, got blown out of proportion. Mike Babcock actually said it was embarrassing for that kind of reporting to get out. Well, let me tell you what's embarrassing. Just mere days later, the NHLPA does their new investigation and finds that several of the younger players were taken places, basically said, give me your phone, I'm going to look through and see what kind of man you are. One player was even reportedly invited to Mike Babcock's house for lunch. Babcock looked through his phone, took it away from him, walked in, projected it on the screen, saw what he wanted to see, and then said, okay, you're good to go. Didn't even give the guy lunch.
Yeah, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
And to wrap this up all with a nice little bow, he was fired. Pascal Vincent takes over behind the bench, and Jarmo Kekalainen and John Davidson might be in some hot water. We'll get to that, though. So let's go to Chris first. What are your thoughts on Mike Babcock?
I mean, so when I was at work and just trying to watch all this while, waiting for analyses to finish up and everything, I was admittedly first really put off by the way that Bissonette brought it up on Spit and Chicklets, and that made me want to believe it wasn't true. Just I was set off by the crudeness that he approached it with. The fact that he immediately jumped to, dick pics and nudes. For me, it was like, all right, I want to move on from this. And then, yeah, the same day, Columbus released that joint statement from Jenner and Babcock. That was like, yeah, this isn't what happened. Here's two people saying how their meeting went. And I'm very glad that the NHLPA didn't just take that at face value and say, all right, yep, done. We don't need to do anything more. It shows that maybe they learned something from what happened in Chicago and they don't want something to happen again. Because the story we got from Jenner and Babcock, in and of itself, I don't think was something worth being fired over. But if every player's interaction went like that, that would be true. We learned that not every player's interaction went like that. And it made sense the more that they talked to the younger players, the players that weren't guaranteed a roster spot, that would have had a potential for Babcock to want to get some leverage over. It makes perfect sense why things started coming up that they were being done differently. We have a history of Mike Babcock manipulating players that have something to play for. And, say what you will about, a coach should be there to get the best effort from their players. There's a right and a wrong way to get the best effort from your players. Going through their phones and blackmailing them with media they didn't expect you to, go searching for is not the way to do it. If everything had been like with Jenner, where it was come into my office, let's sit down, I'll show you some family photos of mine, you show me some of yours, that can be a legitimate way to build trust with people that are comfortable with it. But of course, most of the older generation of this new wave of hockey players are going to be like the older generation of Gen Z, younger generation millennials. And I haven't met a whole lot that the best way to get to, know them right off the bat is exposing and becoming vulnerable. That's really not the best way I've found to do that. So, I don't think we should be too surprised at what came out of it. But I am surprised that, Kekalainen went through all this and then was like, wait, what? This is Mike Babcock? Like, yeah, all you had to do was ask around, bud. Ask more than just the two people that you did ask.
Just ask the people that aren't necessarily friends with him. One of the people that they asked literally lives down the street from Mike Babcock, and they go fishing together, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know who it is?
Yeah, it was Ken Hitchcock.
Ken Hitchcock.
Yeah, like no wonder. But everyone that they asked about hiring Mike Babcock, they've had good experiences with Mike Babcock because Mike Babcock is like them, or Mike Babcock. I can't talk this morning. Learned from them. So, of course, you're gonna get a very warped sense of character from this guy. I thought it was a terrible hire to begin with. I thought it was going to be like an interesting experiment at best, and it was going to be Babcock proving that he could be back in the NHL and he was going to leave. And it turned into this now, where the only reason that the higher-ups in Columbus still have a job is because Mike Babcock was not fired. He stepped down. And they're still paying his contract in its entirety. They're paying a contract for a new head coach in its entirety. And the ownership group of Columbus does not want to pay a contract of its GM and hockey operations manager in its entirety while hiring a new one. That's the only reason that Kekalainen still has a job, and whoever the other guy's name is, I forget his name off the top of my head. What is his name, Chris?
John Davidson.
Yeah, John Davidson and Kekalainen. It's the only reason they both have a job. Is because the Columbus ownership group does not want to pay out 3 contracts for people who aren't working for them anymore. And it's the only reason that they're there. And I have a feeling that unless they really turn the franchise around with this new set, they're gone after their contract's done. I think that Babcock is an absolutely antiquated coach for the NHL anyway. I didn't think it was going to work. I don't think that his styles worked when he was in the league. He's an absolute bully to anyone who isn't a star player. and just doesn't belong in today's NHL. Yeah, you can say, oh, today's players are soft or anything. You shouldn't have to deal with mental abuse or anything like that just to prove yourself as a hockey player. Play the game, play it well, and you're on the team. Shut up with that bullshit that you need to prove X, Y, and Z mentally to be in the NHL. It's stupid, it's outdated, and you need to get over it. He's out of the league, and he should be.
Yeah. Boy, there's a lot to unpack here. I'll start with this. I think it was. I'm just gonna steal a couple lines from Steve Dangle because I think it's good. Number one, if you're somebody calling this the woke virus or the players have gone soft, I want you to take a look at the source. Do you think Spittin' Chicklets, who is owned by Barstool Sports, is infected with what you call the woke virus? I could find about 1,000 companies between that and Barstool before I ever got to that word. And there's nothing wrong with being woke. That's just some stupid political ideology. But the point is, well, they didn't do this back in the day. Yeah, they did. Ted Lindsay formed the union so people wouldn't get bullied around. I digress. There's a right and a wrong way to coach. Now, does this border more so on just an odd thing to do than what he's done in the past? Yeah, but you don't get any more strikes. Elliot Friedman said it best. The expectation and the requirement was perfection. There was no room to slip up. And he did immediately. I'm sorry, that's it. And if you don't know the stories, let's look at some of the Babcock stories from the past. Johan Franzen, a man they called the Mule, tough as nails, literally couldn't sleep for 2 years after he retired properly because of the mental anguish he went through. He was bullied. He had mental breakdowns on the bench, in the locker room. This is a guy who was a hockey player. He's very tough. And the abuse Babcock put him through was just too much. Chris Chelios came out in support of Franz. Chris Chelios is one of the toughest players to ever play the game. And he's saying that this is just stupidity. This is not... He's not a player's coach. The guy sat Modano when he was one game off of 1,000.
No,
Mike Modano.
1,500.
1,500.
1,500, sorry.
1,500. I think the first USA-born player to hit 1,500 games, and it never happened because Mike Modano was benched for 42 out of an 82-game season.
He just needed to play 41.
He needed to play 41, and he benched him 42.
Let's get to the Marner stuff. In Toronto, the story is well told. I mean, he literally asked rookie Mitch Marner, to make a list of his teammates and order them from basically the laziest to the hardest working. Again, nothing innately wrong with what you're looking at your teammates as, but what is wrong is expecting that to be a private conversation and then posting it so that the players he ranked the worst get that. And those players had to come in and do damage control and basically tell Mitch Marner, look, it's not your fault, we understand. That's not the player's responsibility, okay? That is 100% Mike Babcock being an asshole. There's stuff with the last university he coached at where they basically hated him there. I've read Mike Babcock's book. If you don't know his book, it's called Leave No Doubt. He wrote it back when I think he was still the coach of the Red Wings. It's got some good stuff in there because he is, if you don't know, I think he's a licensed clinical psychologist or something in that field. So he knows his stuff when it comes to things, but that also knows he knows how to play the game. He knows how to play mind games. It's mental abuse, and that's what it is. You know what? We talked about expectations being perfection. Leave no doubt. He left a lot of doubt. The only thing that isn't in doubt, and I'm going to steal this from Adam from when we lost our last episode, he left in doubt one thing. Left no doubt for one thing. He's never working in another NHL game, and he did it to himself. There's not much more to say other than he's not the only one. I feel like there's a lot of heat being put on Mike Babcock, rightfully so. He deserves it. Where are the same calls for the heads of Jarmo Kekalainen and John Davidson? Kekalainen has been the guy for a while. He hired Babcock. He interviewed, as Adam said, his friends basically. Like, and again, Steve Dangle said this. If you know them by a nickname, you probably shouldn't be hiring them or asking them this small circle of guys. Okay? And on top of that, John Davidson's been the president here. So they should be catching some flack here too. I think Kekalainen's out of bullets. We talk a lot about the GMs. You get X amount of bullets. How many coaches this guy had? In the past 3 years, he's had 3. So he's out. It's either got to be you win this season or he's done. And that's what the ownership group said as well. And I've seen a lot of talk from, if you haven't read Aaron Portzline's work in The Athletic, go read Aaron Portzline. He's very good at what he does. But the ownership group is hands off. They say, what do you want? You want this amount of money to sign this player? Fine, if you think it's going to help the team. But even they said, people basically have to answer for this. This is not going to go off the radar now. Somebody has to answer for this. So we'll see what time says, but boy, what a mess.
Well, I mean,
It's an
and
absolute
speaking of
shame.
Kekalainen, you look at some of the things he's done this offseason. There was hiring Babcock. Um, and then there was also going out and getting Ivan Provorov from Philly. Why go out and get Provorov? What made him so special? You know?
Yeah. And
Wild,
listen,
sorry,
no, go on.
wild off the cuff theory is, Mikhail Sergachev's not going to be that far out from a contract with Columbus either if Kekalainen hangs around. I think Kekalainen wanted to build a very specific team and was willing to do what would look like due diligence, especially with someone like Babcock. I think Kekalainen wants to build a kind of team that maybe shouldn't be built in today's NHL, and Babcock was part of it.
Kekalainen loves controversy. I'm just gonna say it. He does. You think about when he hired Torts. Okay, Torts is blustery. I'm not a fan of Torts. I don't think his style is necessarily fit perfectly for this NHL.
Mhm.
But by all intents and accounts, as of this moment, Torts is a good person. So, but he's blustery. He brings with him controversy everywhere he goes, and that was no different there. Okay, you have this young core. Columbus has one of the top ranked prospect pools in the NHL. They've got Danton Manichuk. They've got David Jiricek, Adam Fantilli. They have all the Michigan players possible. Zach Werenski is still young. You've got this young core. You've got Johnny Gaudreau. You're becoming a destination. People are starting to like Columbus. It's a fun city. Our war with Ohio notwithstanding. But you're making it unlikable because your GM invites controversy everywhere he goes. And I feel really bad for one particular person in this whole group. Pascal Vincent, he's apparently a really highly respected coach. He's going to get his chance eventually. He's been passed up 3 times now, and he only gets his chance to be the coach there because of Mike Babcock resigning, essentially. I don't know. I think the Jackets are going to be a really interesting team to watch, and I'd watch them going into December because if they're out of the playoff picture by mid-December, I think Kekalainen's out of a job.
Yeah, I get the whole not wanting to pay 2 coaches and 2 general managers, but
And 2 president of hockey ops.
right. But your general manager has really dropped the ball since
Oh, yeah,
2019? Was that
But
when
if
they
you look at it,
2020? I'll give them 2020 when they beat the Leafs in the play-in. But since then, Columbus has been, a borderline joke team to play against.
yeah, but you got to look at it though. It's also a money's thing from the ownership group. Mike Babcock alone is an $8 million contract across 2 years that they have to pay out. And now they'd have to, if they got rid of Kekalainen and Davidson, which I think they should, that's another X amount of dollars for still paying them. And whoever they hire, X amount of dollars for hiring them. And if you look at the pool right now, who's out there right now that will take a job immediately and be able to rebuild it.
So that's where you can go out and you can find somebody who's going to be doing this for the first time, and you can give them a prove me contract that isn't going to be that expensive. And like I said in the last episode I was in, whenever we talked about whatever coach that was in the WHL, like, stop letting the bad people win. Adapt that a little bit. Start giving new people a chance. People that haven't proven that they're a piece of shit. People that are looking for a chance to prove that they can do a good job. Start giving them that chance, man. Stop recycling the same 32 people.
Yep. There's a lot of fresh faces out there they can be going with. There's a lot of things they could be going with. And I'll just leave this portion with this quote. It's pretty well bandied at this point, but it says something that the players felt more comfortable going to Paul Bissonnette on a podcast than they did their own coach or their own GM. That says something about the room in Columbus that no words, no press conferences, nothing could repair.
Well, even Kekalainen addressed it and apologized or mentioned it in his press conference, which, again, that does say something. But what I also, on that same note, what I did like seeing was, people say about, they also didn't feel comfortable going to the NHLPA, which the NHLPA hasn't made themselves be an organization that can be approached about this kind of thing and take it seriously. Hopefully, how the PA handled this will change that. And I mean, I don't think that, going to Bissonnette was wrong. Is the way I would have handled it? Probably not. But it wasn't the wrong way to do it if you have a room that is so toxic. So, however these stories have to come to light so that we can change the culture, okay, let's get through it. Let's change the culture then. But
I also didn't like the way that people were painting the thing with the Chicklets podcast title. Like, I get it. And listen, I said it myself. At the time, my tweet was, wait till you hear both sides. It wasn't discrediting Spin Chicklets. It was saying, you need to hear both sides first. Okay? I think that's a fair assumption. But I didn't like people coming out and saying, this is a lie because it's Spin Chicklets. Paul Bissonnette's just trying to, basically rile them up or just trying to get some, and listen, I said it myself too. Chicklets gets views. They like to get clicks. They say things that are inflammatory. But,
yeah, but
I'm an avid listener. So.
Yeah, but Bissonnette also had a lot on the line if he got that wrong and fucked it up.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like I said, for me personally, I just didn't like the way it was brought up in the direction it went, but the message was still there.
Exactly. And it's I'm glad they took care of it. And hey, I mean, that kind of just gives some validity to the players podcast aspect of that. So maybe we'll see more of these stories come out in that form. I hope not, but it might be good to change some things.
Yeah.
On that note, let's flip the page if you're. Oh, sorry. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I was actually going to say on the tone of new and exciting things, the PWHL.
I was going to say one other thing about it.
Go ahead. You good?
Did we talk? I zoned out for like a hot second. So forgive me if I repeat it. I just wanted to say I do appreciate. I know it's new guard in the NHLPA. I do appreciate them actually doing their due diligence and actually coming to the conclusion instead of taking it at face value. That's one thing I think needs to get slightly more appreciated in this whole thing. Yes, it's bad that the players felt more comfortable going to Paul Bissonnette as opposed to talking to somebody in Columbus A or the NHLPA B. But after everything came to light, they had boots on the ground immediately, and it was the head of the NHLPA leading it. So I think that's a very good sign for things to come in the future, that they have a guy in the NHLPA who actually cares, at least about looking good. So he's going to do his part.
Yeah, shout out Marty Walsh actually going and talking to, the players that the PA should be there for. The fourth liners trying for a spot.
And do you know who basically the assistant to the head is of the NHLPA?
Yeah, Ron Hainsey.
Ron Hainsey, yes, yeah. Ron Hainsey. So hopefully a new era there. I mean, I think it says something. This is a completely different discussion about the old NHLPA. We're like celebrating them for doing their job, which it is good that they did their job. But what did that say about Don Fair? I mean, come on. Anyways, yeah. So as Chris said, new and exciting. So we have the what's the name of the league, Chris?
The PWHL.
PWHL, yes. So we talked about this a little bit a couple shows back. There are 6 teams. Would you like to read them off? Because I can't get my browser to work.
So they've got a team. They don't have team names yet, but you've got Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto in Canada, and then Minnesota, New York, and Boston in the States. And I can try finding that thing I just had up. Like I said, they don't have team names yet, but based off of the draft, I saw people starting to put together at least color palettes of the team. And last time we had our show, Adam and I talked about how we didn't have a favorite just yet because we were going to wait for some of the more aesthetic choices to be made.
I have the stuff right here if you want me to go over it.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not cheering for Boston if their colors are going to be neon green and orange.
So the good news is it's not neon green. It's more like a forest, a darker green.
Yeah. I've got right here. So the PWHL original 6. So Boston is going to be a dark sort of forest green, army green. The Minnesota team is like a dark blue indigo. The Montreal team is red, as you might expect, but a darker red, almost a maroon. New York is going to be a teal, sort of like the San Jose Sharks or like California Golden Seals. The Ottawa Senators, it's been a long day. The Ottawa team are a light red, kind of like Ottawa is now. And the Toronto team is a light sky blue. So that's your palette. Did you guys pick a team yet?
I'm still in between Montreal and Boston. Still in between.
I mean, I was looking towards Boston, but again, with that color scheme, maybe New York or Toronto. At that point, now I'm starting to think of, okay, what are the locations closest to me that I can maybe make it to a game if I ever wanted to?
I went with an opposite direction. I went with Minnesota just because they had the first overall pick.
Eh, not necessarily bad. And they picked somebody from University of Minnesota. I wish I could remember
Minnesota,
her
which I
name.
thought was a kind of a cool story. The first
Yeah.
overall pick this year was Taylor Heisey. She was a standout star for Minnesota for the past few seasons. It's kind of a nice coming home story. So the very first overall pick is a homegrown talent. It's supposed to be could be the next generation of women's hockey. So we'll see. It's very exciting to see a brand new league out there and finally getting some backing behind it. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
Anything else you guys want to add on the PWHL before I move us along?
Only that I'm still waiting to find out how to watch those games.
They're
I'm sure
probably
we'll have an
gonna
announcement
stream them.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to stream them somewhere to start, because their schedule when they're starting up the season looks like TV wise is very booked
Yeah.
already. At least for inaugural season, I wouldn't be shocked if they did a lot of streaming.
Which, again, if they decide to go the Twitch route, absolutely, I'll subscribe to that.
Yeah, it'd be good. I know that they did Twitch with the last league too, so hopefully that would be good. Moving along, a bit of sad news coming out of the works yesterday. If you didn't catch it, former NHL player Nick Krediles passed away after a motorcycle accident. Just thought I'd throw it out there. It's a sad story. I think he's only in his 20s. He was
He's
sort of a bit
29.
player. 29, yeah. He was sort of a bit player for most of his career, like a fourth liner, but I remember him playing for, I think, the Ducks. Yeah, just kind of sad, just sort of unexpected. So rest in peace to him and for his family. Very sad story there. Moving on, I feel like that's a pretty tough one to segue from, but I'm looking at my notes here.
Sometimes you just got to take that hard right turn.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll kind of get so in our last episode with Adam and I, we talked a little bit about Quinn Hughes, but it's kind of a bygone story now. So Quinn Hughes is the captain of the Canucks now. But I do want to touch upon this while Chris is here because I thought this segment with you in mind. Let's go over our expectations for Connor Bedard.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to talk about other captains that just got announced because I was going to say, Brad Marchand in the photos the Bruins released. Oh, he looks like a Bruins captain.
Marchand, and then who's St. Louis's?
Oh shoot, Braden Shen.
Braden Shen. Okay.
Whoa, that's an interesting pick. All right.
Yeah, he's been there for a while. I always heard he played for Philly.
He's been there for a while, but I would have picked like one of the young guns that really is going up there, like Jordan Kyrou. I thought would be in higher contention.
Yeah, well, because then there's Winnipeg. They did what? Adam Lowry.
Adam Lowry, yeah. Which his dad, I think, played for Winnipeg. Dave Lowry, but I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like some interesting captaincy picks.
That's a pick you make when your team is on the downturn and you need somebody to lead the next generation that you're going to draft in a few years.
Yeah,
pretty much.
No, sorry to derail that. Connor Bedard expectations.
All right, so Adam and I had the very similar route last week. So Adam, why don't you start off? What were your expectations for Connor Bedard?
So my expectations for Connor Bedard, I'm not going to talk about points just yet. I'm going to get to those. I think that he's just going to be an exciting player to watch in general. He's going to help Chicago at least fill the seats a bit more in this absolute train wreck of a team. Chicago's not making the playoffs. They are not making the playoffs their first year with Connor Bedard there. If they do, I will eat. I'm not going to say anything actually because I will eat my words. I will make cookie cutouts of my words and I will eat them on the podcast. But anyway, but I think that he's going to be really entertaining to watch. I think he's definitely the highest contention for the Calder, unless he has injury or somebody really, really shows up that we're not really expecting to. Connor Bedard, in my expectations, in his age and his new role as first line winger of Chicago, I think if he got into the 70s or 80 points, that's a win of a season. And by proxy, if Taylor Hall can get in the 70s or 80 point range, I think that's when you're going to see Connor Bedard get to the 70s or 80 point range. My predictions for him goal wise, 25 to 30 goals, and you're going to see 75 max 80 point season.
You go first, actually.
I'll go slightly higher on
The only
goals.
reason I don't is because the team around him.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think
why.
he's going to be more of a playmaker in the NHL as opposed to shooting, and I don't see many people in Chicago burying it other than Taylor Hall or Bedard himself.
Yeah, and that's why I'll go higher on the goal count, but I'll stick around the same level of points. It would be really nice and exciting if he could score more points and have something similar to Ovechkin's rookie year with over 100 points. But again, like you're saying, his notable line mates are going to be Taylor Hall.
That's it.
Chicago's got to build up that team around him to be taken more seriously. So, yeah, I will happily say, I think he can get. I'm going to go with around 40 goals.
Okay.
Well, because
That's,
I think Chicago's going to work it to. I think Chicago's going to work it to make him the goal scorer. You don't have anybody else notable other than just Taylor Hall. So, all right, everybody, we gotta start learning how to feed Connor Bedard pucks.
Interesting. I
Did you
don't
have
know
a
if I
point
go as
total?
high as 40, but hey.
Yeah.
Did you have a point total you want to throw out there as well? With the 40 goals?
I mean, because Adam was sticking around 75 to 80. I can still see that being the case. I can still see him scoring,
All right.
up around 40, and just half of his point total be goals.
So you're thinking like a 40-40 split.
Yeah, something close to that.
All right. The only reason I could see him getting to 40 is if they really just milked him on the power play. Like
Yeah.
threw him on I don't know how he works on the power play because I didn't watch a lot of Bedard tape, but if he works well on an island like Ovi does, set him up there. Or if
Just clap him.
if he's the type of guy that just takes the puck and cycles it around and looks for opportunities, all right, fine. I'll believe that too, but I'm not sure. I just don't have a lot of faith in the team around him. That's why my points are so low. You put him on a better team, he's high. Like I don't think you're going to see 100 points by a rookie this year, but if anyone is going to do it, it would be if Bedard was on a better team, which never happens with the first overall pick. It never happens.
When I look at my predictions for him, I'm going to stick with what I was at, around 25 to 30 goals, like Adam said as well, and about 70 points. I do think he's going to start off hot and wear down a little bit as the season goes on. Eventually, goalies do figure out how to stop you, and defensemen figure out how to keep you to the outside. So I think at some point he's going to hit a bit of a rut there, but should be an exciting season. I think he'll be a nice dynamic player to watch, and he doesn't have that electricity in his step like McDavid does, but a couple scouts have already said he might already have the best shot in the NHL. So his shot from point blank range could just be ripped. I mean, it's kind of crazy. From a dead stop, his release point is insane. So if you've never seen Bedard's clips, go watch them. And continuing on, we're going to go into our preseason hockey just a little bit, touching upon it. Hockey is back. So nice to have some hockey back.
Thank God.
They're doing the series in Melbourne, down under in Australia. G'day. Between the who's playing? The
Who's
Kings
playing
and the
that one?
Kings and the Coyotes.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
right.
Oh, sick!
Kings
The
and
Coyotes
Coyotes.
are trying out a new home arena. Cool.
All right.
The Melbourne Coyotes.
Any team goes to play them, just get fucked.
They'd be changed to the Coyotes.
Austrazona Coyotes.
Austrazona Coyotes.
Yeah. So preseason hockey's
Meanwhile,
back.
all of Australia
Hang on,
calls us on the spot.
I have a title to record. Austrazona Yotes.
Fun fact, I believe that yesterday was the first time a team has played 3 NHL games in a day. It was the Coyotes because they had a split squad practice in the home country here, and then they had a game down in Melbourne, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Dang, dude.
And that's our news for today. We ready to play some Puckdoku?
Absolutely.
Are
All right, so we're gonna do today's doku. So Chris, if you can pull your stream up.
we gonna go against each other or do it together?
Yeah, let's. Well, it's up to you guys. I mean,
I'm fine doing it against each other because I'm not gonna lie, I did start it up a little bit already.
same. All right, yes. Well, let's do it. Why not?
Go against each other. How much time do you guys want?
I only
5
need like
minutes.
2 more spots, so. Also, I will say while we're having this slightly paused for recording sake, for the sake of the audio only, we should really say instead of top left, top middle, middle, say like the intersections. And we're back with Doku. I guess
back
I'll
with
say
Doku.
it because Chris is occupied and whatnot. Our apologies to audio only people last week. We did not think that about it in the time, but for those of you who are listening for only audio, our Puckdoku board today is today, September 24th, and our columns are Anaheim Ducks, Detroit Red Wings, and 1,000 games played in a career. And our rows are the Washington Capitals, Chicago Blackhawks, and 1,000 points career. We're going to try, instead of doing what we normally do and say top left, top right, we'll say like, okay, for Capitals, Detroit Red Wings, I have blank, so that audio only people know what the hell is going on.
Yeah. So I'm tell you what, I'll go ahead and start with my board, just because I know it's going to be the highest uniqueness score, but I'm still
You
pretty
went like
proud of
nice
the ones
early?
that I didn't have to look up.
Oh, you looked up some. Ooh, all right,
Oh,
it's
of
fine.
course.
I totally looked up 1 or 2.
So to
Hey,
start
look
off,
at Betty. What the fuck?
I looked
What?
up 1 or 2 to verify. It wasn't look up 1 or 2 to fill a spot. It was to verify. I think that's different.
yeah, you guys are actually playing out here. I'm just trying to learn.
Yeah,
So,
I knew of all these players. I just needed to verify if they played for X, Y, or Z.
yeah. All right. So for my Capitals Ducks slot, I picked Daniel Sprong.
Good shout.
Okay.
And he's only a 4? Okay.
Yeah. For my Capitals Red Wings spot, I was gonna go with Vrana or Mantha, and then I thought, wait a minute, there was one other player involved in that trade, Richard Panik, for a nice little 1%.
That's good.
And then Capitals 1,000 games played career. Again, I don't know a whole lot, so I originally thought of Ovechkin, but Ovechkin's percentage was a little too high for my liking, so I thought, who's played with Ovechkin this entire time and has maybe only had a little bit of injury trouble, but not enough to not hit 1,000 games played. Nicholas Backstrom.
That's a good one.
All right, and this one I had to look up, but as soon as I saw him, I was like, no, this is the player I'm going with. For Blackhawks Ducks, Chris Kunitz. Sorry, Blackhawks Red Wings. You know what? I am actually going to go with the original pick I had for this one. I picked somebody else when I filled in my Puckdoku earlier, but I want to go with this one now because this is one I actually thought of and didn't have to look up. Peter Mrazek. And look at that, he's a lower percentage.
There
I'm
you go.
surprised that a lot of these more modern players have such low percentages.
Me too, because I like to play with more modern players.
Obviously, you know them.
Yeah, exactly. And then this one, a high percentage for me, but I was hoping it'd be lower because people, I think, forget that because of where he retired, forget that he played with Chicago. But Chicago, 1,000 games played, Duncan Keith.
Okay.
I respect that shout, and it's a sub 10. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to save Ducks 1,000 points career for last because that's what absolutely tanks my board.
Yes, because there's not a lot of players you could throw in that spot, and it's like I think it's only 4 players, and one of them's like in the 50s.
Yep. So 1,000 games played
there.
and 1,000 points career. I picked Evgeny Malkin for 1%.
Still throws me off
1%.
that they spell his name the technically correct way and put the Y in, and it just throws me off because nobody in the U.S. or Canada ever puts the Y in Evgeny Malkin.
Yeah, and I mean I like saying it every now and then for people that don't know because I don't think it's a very well circulated bit of Pittsburgh trivia. But from what I was able to find, the reason that they call him Gino is because Yevgeny is also in some other cultures that name is switched to Eugene, which is Eugene is shortened to Gino.
Mm.
So, I don't know. I like that because I like his little Gino nickname. All right. Red Wings 1,000-point career. I had to go with Gordie Howe. There's only 13%. So again,
with how many
57.
players if for Detroit got up that high, I'm not as shocked that Gordie Howe's only a 13.
Yeah, and right now, uniqueness of 57. I would love to keep that, but I can't because the only Anaheim Ducks player who hit 1,000 points that I could think of after searching a lot was Teemu Selanne.
I'm gonna blow your mind for a second. You also could have put down Ryan Getzlaf.
You know, every time I put Ryan Getzlaf down for something with the Ducks, it comes back wrong.
Ryan Getzlaf had like 1,012 points. He's the franchise leading point scorer who got them all at that franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because when I was like testing out the board, I wanted to see how high of a percentage he was, but he was even still in the 30s. Because there's only like 4 people that 1,000 points applies to for the Ducks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know. I might play that again and put Getzlaf in just so I can get this one under 100.
Yeah, that'd be the only thing you have to do.
So.
Or you can put one of Chris or my answer, because Chris actually might beat me for that slot. I don't know who he put there.
I'm gonna let you
Chris,
go
do you wanna
first
go
because
next?
no, because I'm still working on that slot. That's my
Oh,
last
you're
one.
still working on that slot? Okay, you
Yeah.
might steal my answer, and I'm gonna be
I'm not
okay
gonna-
with it.
No, I won't steal your answer.
It's a shame that Walt Pudubny
Oh,
didn't play in
okay.
Anaheim.
All right. Anyway, so for my board, I have in Anaheim Ducks and Capitals, I have Thomas Fleischman.
Ooh, Thomas Fleischman's a good
TOM.
one.
Yeah, Thomas Fleischman, 1%er.
Okay.
In Detroit Capitals, I have Chris Connor.
Okay.
And then for Capitals 1,000 games played career, I have Andrew Cassels.
I love when you guys find players that is that a C or a K?
CASS.
I love when you
Yep.
guys find players whose headshots aren't even in the jersey.
Yeah.
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 That they're trying to go
like
for.
my next one I'm going to put down, Chicago Ducks. I'm going to have Sheldon Brookbank. And I don't know how the hell this guy's a 2%er, but okay, he is. For
Damn, look at that.
Chicago
chin.
and Detroit, I have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sid Abel.
I've heard about Sid Abel.
Everyone forgets that he spent like the last year or two of his career inside of Chicago.
Those are the
And
only
then
teams for
for
him to play on.
Chicago, yeah, he was like a lifelong Detroit Red Wing, but then spent like the last season and a half inside of Chicago. But anyway, Chicago 1,000 games played career. I have Brian Campbell.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm gonna save my Ducks 1,000 points for last.
Yep.
I'm going to start with Detroit 1,000 points.
Okay.
Daniel Alfredson. Everyone forgets that he spent like the last season inside of Detroit. And then for 1,000 games played, 1,000 points, I have Alexei Kovalev. EI. It's Alex EI.
There he
And
is.
then Kovalev. There he is. All right, and then my last one,
Kovalev.
Ducks for 1,000 points. The most obscure one I could think of, and it still was a 5%, was Sergei Fedorov.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, and he was still freaking 5%.
That's not bad though. Uniqueness of 10.
Yeah. I'll
Can you
take it.
Can you give me a 1-minute pause while I finish mine up?
Dude, your only options for 1,000 points, I think, are
No,
Teemu
I have
Selanne.
one.
Who is it, lower or higher than Fedorov?
I got it. I got my board. We're good.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Don't even cut anything. Just go
I
into it.
switched my board at the last second. All right, I'm ready. What was the score to beat?
10.
All right, well, Adam won, but not by much. All right, I'm ready for
Let's
my top
go.
left. So Ducks Caps, I'm going with Jason Chimera.
A shout and a half.
Yeah.
If I have
I
to
like the
try to
Fleischman
remember
shout.
who he is, yeah, I like the Thomas Fleischman pick better.
I need Mike Gnubel, KNU.
I love some of the names you think of.
He just came to me. The only person I had to like look up a roster for was my next pick, which was Mike
Wait.
Gartner.
After Mike Gartner, can we just take a moment to appreciate that for the Capitals and Red Wings, we both have players that were wearing Philadelphia Flyers jerseys in their photo?
Oh
I
my
didn't even know
God,
Google
they
played for the
did.
Flyers. I'm proud of myself because the only person I had to roster search for that I actually used was Gartner. All right, this one, Ducks Hawks. I'm going Tony Herkac, HRKAC. Yep. I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Carl Voss. Did sit on him for a while.
Damn.
What a guy.
Pittsburgh Penguins and Colorado Avalanche legend Jack Johnson.
What
Oh.
a man. I love him.
I switched my Capitals 1,000 games for my Ducks 1,000 points. Adam Oates.
No shot Adam Oates played for the Ducks.
He was my first player I put down, but he was for my top right.
No
I think
shot.
Oates played for them. He did, yeah.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Now this was a shot in the dark. My brain worked. Paul Coffey.
You know, I forgot for a second that he played for the Red Wings, but he 100% did.
Mine says 1%, so that means yeah. So you just put me at 2, but it's
Yeah.
all right. It doesn't matter. I lost this. And then last one, I just put Kopitar.
I'll take Kopitar for 1,000 points, 1,000 games. What a guy.
So Adam wins this one. But that was. I'm proud of that board. It took me forever to get to Mike Gartner, but I will take it.
I really like the Jack
Oh.
Johnson pick. I'm very sad that I forgot he played for Chicago.
I'm disappointed you guys didn't get Jack Johnson there.
Hey, I didn't put Jack Johnson because I thought he was going to be higher because of recency bias. Because the last time I put Johnson down for a Colorado Chicago pick, and they were like, it was like 15%. And he only played like 20 games in Chicago before Colorado traded for him back.
This is the first Puckdoku board in a while that I had to really, really think on. But yeah, that was fun. If you'll look in the background of
Junior
our
live or
stream,
no?
what's that?
Do we want to do the Doku Junior together live or no?
No, I think we got a good episode for today.
Yeah, my
that's fine.
tablet's dying. We'll save it. But well, that is our show for today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. We'll be back next week with hopefully some real news. We've been playing Puckdoku a lot, but and hopefully our audio producer's back. Hopefully Zach's coming at some point.
I think we'll have a
But-
lot of good stuff to talk about after some of these preseason games. We'll get to see some of our
Yeah.
prospects, get excited, and then just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, get our hearts broken when they allow Connor Bedard to get a fucking hat trick on day one.
Dude, I'm calling it right now. For some reason, and I'm going to speak it into fruition. You can keep it into the audio for the podcast. I had a dream the other night that Connor Bedard in the playoffs for Chicago scored a hat trick.
It is a dream.
I don't
We're not making the
know.
playoffs.
I don't know if my dream was,
Say, was this just
saying
his
that
rookie
was
year?
happening this year, but I had a dream that in general, in a game for Chicago, Bedard scored a hat trick, like a natural hat trick. He had all of Chicago's goals.
Let's just speak into existence a cup final this year of Pittsburgh and Chicago, just for the chaos of it.
I'd also like to point out that during the Doku, if you zoom in on my face and put some background music, you can see me ferociously working around my player picks. It looks like Charlie Day from Always Sunny with the numbers above his head. I'm sitting here like typing. I'm like, oh, like the 2008.
Yeah, so something I want to figure out how to do is actually get the Puckdoku to show up the way it's been showing up in recent videos, and then I think I may need to insert the video a second time and then pull out our cameras so I can put them along the sides so that you can actually see us while we're doing the Puckdoku. Because if I leave it the way it is, the Puckdoku's small and you see my browser ads, which aren't necessarily embarrassing, but Paramount Plus doesn't pay us to fucking put their ads up on our YouTube
That's
videos.
right. Sponsor us. You
I was
cowards.
even saying to cut it, and you didn't hit the X.
No, because every time I do, it just gets replaced by something else. You know how to. And sometimes they play noise.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
All right, well, I'll save the AV talk for us for after the show, but thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next week, and hopefully we have some real news.
No,
that isn't
they love
depressing.
it. Tell us how to make this show better, you bums.
All right. On that note, goodbye.
As they say in Australia, the Coyotes are here.
That is probably what they say in Australia.
The fuck's a coyote?